Welcome to the Trash Cats Trashcast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven. And today we're making martyrs and debating some meaningless bullshit. But first, how was your week?
It's been very good. It's been chock-a-block full of work, but not in a bad way.
Bro, my manager emailed me midway through the day today and said, starting today, I need to know how many extra hours you can do each day. I was like, yeah, right. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, seriously.
What a crazy question.
Super fuck yourself.
Oh, man. So you're hanging in?
Yeah, I'm hanging in. Yeah, but my work situation's much better than that, at least.
Well, you're staying busy, though.
Yeah, it's been a lot going on. Just the weather going back and forth, and like we have all these events lined up where the weather should be getting nice around now, but it's like this weekend's going to be 80, but it's also going to be raining. And it's like, fuck, man. It's like
trash world.
Yeah, it's like that's nothing. That's nothing for us.
Dude, I'm so tired, and I wanted to take more caffeine. But my heart's already palping out. I've had so much today. I don't think my little ticker can handle it anymore.
Oh, dude, I was fucking with, I've been, mostly just doing like a cup of coffee or so a day. And I recently got a case of Celsius from Sam's Club.
Yeah.
And
I just had one.
Those are brutal. Those are when you're not used to doing caffeine all the time. Those are really potent.
They're so mild.
Well, go fuck yourself.
they hardly get my engine to turn over.
I had one, and my rule anymore, since I have to go to sleep earlier and wake up earlier, I try not to have caffeine after like 1:30, 2 o'clock. If I can avoid it, like anything past noon. And last week I had like one that I would, like a Celsius that I would sip from like 9 o'clock until like 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I would be up. I would be like, I had good energy in the afternoon. Like I'd get home from work and I'd still feel like, all right, I'm going to go bust out some laundry. I'm going to knock out some dishes. I'm going to fuck around on, some scheduling shit or something. And then I wouldn't be able to fall asleep until like 2:30, 3 o'clock. And I did it a couple days in a row, and I realized, it's absolutely just the Celsius is fucking me up.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I do need to like reevaluate my caffeine, but I just hate everything. So anything that gives me a little pep to get moving, even if it makes my heart queasy, is a good thing. Oh, man.
I do have something to bring to the table today.
Okay.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
I got a couple. Do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay, I'll be quick. The new documentary on Hans Zimmerman. That is it, did I just fuck up his name? I'm like sleep deprived. Hans Zimmer. Yeah, it's just Zimmer. No, man. It's Hans Zimmer. It's a really good fucking documentary. Talks about how he makes his soundtracks and how he learned music. It was a lot more interesting than I thought it'd be. He's one of those people that's crazy talented that also worked incredibly hard to hone their craft. It's definitely worth a watch.
Nice.
And then I fucking love the song Lacrimosa.
I don't know if I'm familiar. Sounds familiar, but I don't.
Everyone knows it. But I found a version of it that's 500% slower. So if you YouTube 500% Lacrimosa, it is one of the most beautiful things I've heard in a long time. It's just gorgeous.
And then once you've done that to yourself, look up the video for Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden at I think it's 10 times slower. It's absolute nightmare fuel.
I can't stand that fucking song.
It's not that I dislike the song. It got overplayed. I like a lot of Soundgarden stuff.
I'm so sorry. All right, what are we doing today? Let's fight.
Well, hold on. Because I have something for you today.
Okay.
We are going to bring back something we haven't done in a long time, and you are going to tell me if the following passage is by a distinguished American poet or Taylor Allison Swift.
I hate this. All right, run it.
Okay. Run it. Ahem. But their bare hands paved their paths. You don't get to tell me about sad. If you wanted me dead, you should have just said, nothing makes me feel more alive.
And I'm guessing if it is or isn't Taylor Swift.
Yes.
I feel like that is.
Would you like me to read you some more? Or would you like to lock in that answer?
I'll lock and load it.
Okay. I think this is your first ever win, Steven.
It might be.
You can add in some air horns in there. You deserve to celebrate. That is from Taylor Swift's new album, The Tortured Poets Department.
Jesus Christ.
I now have, so here's the fun part of this. So we're hiring up for the season at work, and of course our good friend Stephanie has been feeding me, lyrics or songs to bring to you. And we now have another employee that's full-time with us now, who is a classically trained in creative writing and poetry. And so she is also going to be feeding me some things to bring to you. So the revival of the bit is here.
I'm all for it. Does the new person, are they a Swiftie or are they like a
They are not.
Good. That's good.
They will bring in. They told me they would bring in some work that would be
like classical poetry.
Yeah, something, but also something that will be challenging for you. So
okay, I dig.
So look forward to that.
Oh yeah.
I like the idea of this bit ending with. We will
us
just
interviewing Taylor Swift.
We will just be removing the "or" in the prompt of distinguished American poet Taylor Allison Swift.
Oh my God. That's funny. So what are we doing? We fighting?
Yeah, it's fucking Dukes up, man.
Okay. Well,
I'm not eating cows or chickens or pork anymore.
You're a fish
pigs.
Boy now, right?
I'm all about the fish, all on that tofu gang.
Would it be fair to say you've gone pescatarian and now we're going to fight about it?
Yes. That is fair and truthful.
And for the record, let the record state, this was Ricky's idea.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit and probably be a bit more critical than I normally would.
Which says a lot.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to fighting about this. So before I preface my normal beliefs, do you want to preface yours or what your current belief is?
We'll pick me apart.
Okay. Well, to preface my own beliefs outside of this debate, I think eating animals is wrong, but I think it doesn't matter. We just aren't inherently good or bad, for that matter, as creatures, and I don't think our existence, or even, if I'm going to get real nihilist, or even the harm that we cause to other quote-unquote lesser creatures matters at all. But I definitely think it's really cool and good when people are able to care about that. And generally, I would encourage others to do so if they care. But today, I'm going to be a chaotic carnivore and press Ricky. Tonight, I'm living my life like a pharaoh, where every animal I kill or eat follows me into the afterlife as my slave. And Ricky's trying to deprive me of my little animal slaves, and I need him to reason that.
Free the animal slaves.
Yes. So, First question.
Yes.
Why? Why would you do this? I know you probably like meat more than I do. So the only answer could be ethics.
Yeah, I mean that's really it. It sounds so fucking goofy, but I watched a video not too long ago, and they led me down a rabbit hole of some other stuff. But the video it started off and it was just saying like bears find, places of natural beauty to like sit and like watch a sunset. Like they'll stop what they're doing to like
I call bullshit.
Go up to a place to like see something pretty. And that led me down a rabbit hole of some different thoughts. And it's something that I mean, like in our previous veganism debate, like I had talked about this before, I'm sure, that I made a decision a while ago to stop eating octopus because of how incredibly intelligent they are.
Yeah.
And I realized after that, like, of course, it's hypocritical to say that about just octopus. And like, obviously these other animals are very intelligent also, maybe not as dexterous, but they're also incredibly intelligent, especially in their emotional intelligence.
Okay, just to clarify, pescatarian is vegetarian, but you eat fish.
Yes, that is fair.
Okay. All right, now, we've been doing vegan deep dives or philosophy on and off the last couple years, and I've definitely been thinking about it quite a bit. Why did a bear sunset trigger this? Okay. Did you fucking have a Winnie the Pooh moment? What happened?
Apparently. It wasn't so much because it wasn't, no one's eating bear. Well, at least, you can't get it
Speak
at Kroger.
for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Steven's got a bear guy. His name's Bear Grylls. He lives in Steven's
and he
backyard.
grills bears.
It just made me realize, like, if you spend any time around like farm animals and shit like that, you absolutely see like they bond with people, they bond with other animals, they are incredibly emotionally intelligent. And upon thinking about that more, it kind of just, it made the meat seem gross to me.
Okay.
It just made it seem like a thing that I don't want it anymore.
So I see this as, my first question was why, and the goal of that was to establish what you're valuing.
Yes.
And I see there's three choices. There's health reasons, which I know is like a bonus reason, but that's not your primary reason.
Right.
So then it comes down to like, what do you value? Is it consciousness or suffering or the idea of a soul for like religious people? Like what, I feel like it has to be consciousness.
Yeah,
is what you're
consciousness is the closest thing, yeah.
And in theory, to do the least amount of suffering to conscious beings.
Right, correct.
Okay, I'm with you so far. My next question is, do you believe that consciousness is a spectrum, or that there are different types? And I want to say this. So I fucking love animals. I was just on my porch.
Except for horses.
Looking at it. Yeah, fuck horses. Fucking horses can go die, okay? I hate horses. They can die in a fire. But regular animals that aren't pieces of shit, love them, okay? I was just on the porch watching two white-tailed deers flopping about the yard, eating weeds and shit. Really cute. Like animals. Even like a stink beetle. Like if I'm having a shit day and I'm in fuck the world mode right now, I can feel completely apathetic to their existence, but generally, even if I see a small little beetle, I feel like some sort of connection. Like I can recognize they have some sort of consciousness, even if it's not the same kind as my own. and I can appreciate that and feel that connection. A lot of people argue that consciousness is a spectrum. I tend to think it's types. So a lot of people would be like, oh, fucking ants are at the bottom, or non-vertebrates, they don't even have true consciousness without a fucking brain and a spine. And then we got like ants and then an octopus and then a fucking human. We're all on a spectrum.
I feel like we've been kind of taught that.
Yeah.
Or, like in some cases been taught that like, oh, they're animals, they don't have consciousness. Like that's yes. an extreme that is absolutely a thing that people believe. And I think I find that the more people like do research and like spend time with these animals, it comes into like you come into recognizing that like their consciousness is really not different from ours. Their
yes, it is.
Thought process and priorities. Maybe.
It's very different.
Now, how would you say that?
So there's a whole breakdown of animals by consciousness. Like there are no one knows how accurate there are, but there are breakdowns of species by estimated consciousness. And there's a series of criteria and tests that you could run the animals through. One of the most basic, and I don't even know if it's used anymore, it's like a older thing that they would use, but just to illustrate it as an example, the mirror test. If you put an animal in front of a mirror, do they recognize themselves? Or do they just react to shapes or whatever? Like, can they perceive an image of themselves and recognize it as themselves? That's like a very minimal base idea of consciousness. So I would argue...
I assume this trial is done with like more than once they test,
yes,
because the first time you ever see a mirror, it's probably you see your own reflection, you probably freak out a little bit.
But a lot of animals don't at all. Like an insect wouldn't look at most insects are not going to perceive themselves in a mirror either differently than they would another animal or differently than a bare patch of wall. Like there's a huge range of potential responses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you said you feel like animal consciousness is like they might have different priorities or instincts or internal reasoning, but
I would at least say it's closer to what we recognize as consciousness than maybe we have been led to understand previously.
See, I can't disagree more with that. So imagine being a dolphin, okay? Mm-hmm. Just think about that for a second.
Yeah. I'm putting the virtual reality goggles on. I'm playing Echo the Dolphin.
I feel like if I'm a dolphin right now, okay, fucking flipping, I'm flapping, I'm gliding, man.
Echolocating.
I got the sun on my back, fucking zooming, bro. If I'm a dolphin, I feel like realistically, we can't imagine what they're being in their brain or what their consciousness looks like. My guess is more that consciousness is not a spectrum. It's not degrees of consciousness, like the scientific testing of like levels of consciousness degree. I think there could be insights there, but I don't see that as realistic. I would imagine being an ant or being a dolphin or being a cat, it's a completely different experience, and their type of consciousness is something different than human consciousness. And generally, I value that consciousness like I would a human. But if I go back to my original beliefs, I just don't believe the ethics involved matter. But I don't see a small animal having less conscious than a big animal, but more that it's just a completely different type of experience.
I can see that. I think I think I'm realizing that part of my holdup on that is that I don't fully agree with that definition of consciousness. So I just looked up a definition of consciousness for
I don't think we established a definition. So
no, sorry, but the idea of like you know, like recognizing yourself in the mirror kind of thing, like
that's like a test.
Yeah. So like just for conversation's sake, consciousness at its simplest is awareness of internal and external existence. However, its nature has led to millennia of analyses, explanations, and debate by philosophers, theologians, and all of science. Opinions differ about what exactly needs to be studied or even considered consciousness.
Okay, so far, for what I was saying, like, I'm going to say it wrong, colloquially? Colloquially, yes. Where's the disagreement?
I feel like and this is the harder one to, because I haven't thought about this really in depth in this context before. It's like, what is consciousness to us? Like, what when we use the word consciousness, are we describing the thing that makes us as a people who we are, or us individually who we are? Is it something that,
it depends.
If I'm unconscious, or I am in my subconscious?
You can use it in different ways. We can just use it to describe a state of being. We can describe it as a state of people or a state of self. When we're talking about individual consciousness, we're talking about what our life experience is, what being us, being a person, being a human, what that experience is to ourselves, and in theory, like the definition externally as well.
So, I mean, by that definition I just read, I can absolutely see it being, you know, as you said, like there's different stages or different, you know, like types of consciousness. I can see that being a thing. But it does seem to me that we are slowly discovering that there is more than meets the eye, more than what has previously been thought to be going on between their heads.
Okay, I have a really good example, but I'm going to need you to justify that statement because I don't know if that's true. Like, what have we learned recently that has helped us have a better understanding of what consciousness is?
Well, I guess it's not that we've learned recently. I think it's just more that like we've had, you know, more people that are making, you know, studies about how different animals that we kind of disregarded as being lesser animals, you know, quote unquote, that are equally as emotionally intelligent, that are equally as like intelligent at recognizing patterns, recognizing, you know, faces and, you know, such like that. So that it's not just like, oh, this one cow happens to be very, very smart. It's no, all cows are smart like this. Some of them, you know, aren't treated the same way.
All right, I have to aggressively push back. So my argument is, I agree with you in the sense I think animals have a true sense of consciousness, but it's just different than human consciousness. When people say, oh, they're fucking, they don't have true consciousness, like that's why their life doesn't matter, I think that's a bullshit argument.
Right.
I strong disagree.
I think it's also like you can't make that argument because you can't, like, we don't have, it's not a thing you measure. You can test.
It is.
You can make tests that you can use to describe do they have consciousness in the way that we understand it, but it's not the same as saying they don't have consciousness.
Correct. So, all right, refreshing. So you mentioned it could be stages or whatever. So the reason I'm trying to establish of like if you lend more towards spectrum or types. I feel like stages is kind of a tricky
types is
okay, because like here's the crude example. We have a regular human and then a severely mentally challenged human, like congenital birth defects. They both have what we collectively call human consciousness, and they're both like the challenged person still has some executive function. Like it's clear that they're still like a conscious being, but the experience of those two types of consciousness would be completely different. So much so that if someone's argument was we should be able to kill all consciousness on the spectrum below the level of the pig, well, what happens when you have a mentally challenged person or a very old person or a disabled person of some sort that in theory tests on the same level of that spectrum, which is
right.
To my argument, I feel like we can't make those direct comparisons on a spectrum, but they're completely separate types, and that we can never truly know what that other type of consciousness is.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just because
there's no unit of measure for consciousness. There is no
there's criteria. There's just
there is criteria to say that it is or is not there in some form, but there is not a unit of
do you
measure.
Say kind of an? I think I disagree. Like, do you consider a virus to be conscious?
Yes, actually, there are viruses. There are pathological entities. We were just talking about this with rabies, where once infected, it causes hydrophobia. Yeah, it self-preserves. So,
do you think that's true consciousness?
Well,
because most people disagree with that.
It's certainly an understanding of its own mortality.
What is its own? Does it have thoughts? Does it have a self to preserve, or is it a chemical reaction? Like, I don't know the answer. I'm just...
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think we have the tools to measure that.
We do in some ways.
We do in larger animals. You can measure thought processes through, MRI, and maybe not MRI, I might have the wrong one, but like through scanning the brain and seeing what areas light up and different activity and heart rate and shit. But like to say that something isn't firing in similar fashions to protect itself using a different set of tools is ignorant.
Okay, but let's say the virus, like, can this thing ever truly know itself? Can this thing learn from its mistakes? There's no way to answer
that question.
So I feel like with something like a virus, I feel like I can strong lean towards no, but I don't know. That.
Yeah. But when it's like from what we understand in the world, like sure, like from what we understand about, viruses, especially what they teach you in public school, there's no reason to believe that is true. But also there's no reason to believe that it's not a possibility as well.
Yeah, I've
shown
feel
through like the patterns of like I said, like their ability to spread, their ability to like. There's a reason they're still here, and it's because these viruses work in a way that is, self-preservational and, with intent to thrive.
Frankly, I feel like I'm out of my biological depth on this aspect, but
I super don't know what I'm talking about either, but I mean,
we're experimenting.
This is Jurassic Park logic. Life finds a way.
All right. So next,
we're Jeff Goldblum on the podcast next episode.
So I do have you leaning towards types, though.
Yes.
Okay.
I much prefer that to a spectrum. You could potentially make the spectrum argument and have me lean towards that if it was like it's not just a point A to point B slider kind of spectrum. It's a three-dimensional, nebulous graph of there is, different points along it that you can, But that's just types. That's just, I'm describing types.
So at the beginning, I stated, like, this is how I feel. Like, I can feel connections with these other creatures, like other types of beings, other kinds of consciousness, but I don't inherently feel that the need to act against my nature in a way that would be perceived as ethical. So we're kind of lining up on belief, but differing on prescription. So next,
I was right. I was in the same boat as you. Just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So then my next question is, why don't you value all kinds of consciousness? And
you saying, why do I eat fish?
Well, there's a massive hypocrisy there, right?
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah. The fish thing is a means to an end, more or less, of like making the jump from going straight to, from eating meat to going straight to vegetarian is, going cold turkey is not you don't lead yourself or lend yourself a high success rate with that. If nothing else, it's, a transitional thing. It's
still
not
harm reduction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I do plan on eventually, going vegetarian.
Don't lie. Don't lie.
But in the meantime, as long as I'm getting the protein requirements that I am, like that is the harder part. Like that's definitely the one where a lot of people who are, vegan or vegetarian end up falling back into pescatarianism. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
because
B12 and
there's so many other nutrients that they're, just not getting on a regular basis. And it's because it's hard. You really have to pay attention to that shit when you go, make a huge diet switch like that. So yeah, the fish is, it's a means to an end. I'm not sure how long that that's going to last. Or I'm not sure if, I might just stick with it. I know I don't know for a fact, I was going to say an old boss of mine, he was a cardiologist, and he was a strong advocate for a vegan diet. But he also said, pescatarian's one of the best you can do, for your colon health. Like, colon cancer, studies have shown like pescatarian diet shows had a reduction in like 82% or something of, colon cancer or something.
Who cares about that?
It was a really specific one, but it was like, oh, like, wow, that's something you'd never think of. But
bro, that sounds like the type of dumb shit a cardiologist would say.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
fucking learned doctors and shit.
So, I don't get. I don't get the valuing different kinds of consciousness differently.
It's not that I value them differently. It's just that I could say, oh, I'm going to be vegetarian, but I'm still going to eat chicken for a while.
But you're still eating cheese and eggs?
So eggs I'm doing. Milk,
oh,
I'm not.
We got holes all over the place now.
Well, that's vegetarian. Is still considered eggs.
But if you value, but it's expansion of the fish, right? This is other suffering caused to consciousnesses.
The eggs are not fertilized. We'll start with that.
Does that matter?
It does if you're considering the egg to be a life in itself. If you're saying that the life of the chicken that has to lay the eggs, there is questioning in that. If you're getting eggs from an ethical source where it's not just a warehouse filled with stuffed to the brim with chickens that are just constantly mass producing eggs that are all hopped up on drugs and shit. If you can find a good source for it, that's great.
But regardless, you're still feeding into that industry, have no way of truly knowing what's happening, and it raises a question.
I got a local farm egg guy at the market.
I doubt all your egg, cheese, and milk you can truly know. And then it raises the question, is it okay to enslave animals but not to kill them?
Right. So the dairy I'm cutting in almost entirely. I realize I've been cutting cheese out anyways, just like for the last, since the beginning of the year, just trying to lose weight anyways. And I can live without it. And that is one. Like, you can find ethically sourced eggs nowadays. Like, the market has shown, like, that's a thing that people want. So there's a lot more offerings for like free range eggs, and there's more opportunities. Like I said, you can go to the farmer's market, and there are people that sell eggs that they, get from their own local farm. And like, that's something that's approachable. Finding dairy is much harder. Finding, locally, ethically sourced cheese is like,
it's impossible.
Yeah. Like, you really gotta fucking know somebody or know somebody who knows somebody to even begin that. Even then, you're basing it on a trust to a person that also doesn't truly know if they are causing harm or not. There's no way to know what degree of conscious suffering you're doing on an animal of a different kind of consciousness. From what I understand,
like a free-range chicken, like just having a free-range chicken still could be harmful. Like, I don't think there's any way to say like, oh, we got it from a really nice farm that they're forced to live at.
Well, and, I mean, that chicken's not going to do too well in the wild, to be fair. So what we've done to chickens, as far as domesticating them,
I don't think that changes the argument. Because they're still enslaved to a life for our benefit, opposed to the lack of suffering they would have from not existing.
If we got rid of all the chickens,
well, it's not about getting rid of them. It's not.
Where would you release them?
We could end the generation at any point. Like, we don't have to kill them all, but we don't have to keep making more. Like, if not existing is neutral, not like the anti-natalist. It's not we kill them all to end their suffering, but it's the idea of like not having the child is a neutral. The idea of not making more chickens to be enslaved for us is the neutral.
Well, if we stop, if you were to say like you're not breeding chickens,
yeah,
like they can still have babies on their own accord. Number one.
Sure.
Number
but
two, if you're saying that you're not, if you're saying you're not keeping them in your own care, in your own homestead, like in your yard or whatever, then by releasing them into any natural environment, they will perish.
But that, I would imagine,
that's a trolley problem. If you release them into the wild, is that better than giving them food in a shelter?
Yes, the answer is yes, because it's not just about those chickens. It's about their whole genealogy, their whole future line, their whole ancestry of suffering you're going to cause from then on out because you want an egg.
What I'm saying is it doesn't have to be suffering. It's like keeping pets.
It is. You have no way of knowing it's
keeping
not.
Pets,
yes, it's bad. It is bad. I do it, but it is bad.
I think the idea of companionship among animals is not inherently bad.
I don't think it's inherently bad either, but I don't think it's morally consistent.
I can agree with that.
Like, I don't like truly believe like a free range chicken is being harmed by making us eggs. I don't really think that. But it is like, if I believe all consciousnesses, all kinds of consciousness have enough value that I don't feel I should be causing them any suffering, at least intentionally, then I would imagine playing part of a system where people have to raise entire fucking ancestries of birds that are going to live and die so I can have eggs. Mm-hmm. I feel like there is guaranteed suffering in there that would not exist if the future lines of chickens just weren't there.
Let me ask you this. If
I can imagine the chicken suffering. I can feel my feathers being ruffled, okay?
Constantly picture chickens being suffering. Let's say a bear shows up to your backyard, a little brown bear.
Knock him out.
a little black bear. And he's just
knock him right out.
He's just kind of sniffing around, and he finds something on your porch and he nibbles it, and he's just resting. And let's say you haven't seen him yet. He's just kind of chilling back there. And you walk out to your car, and he kind of comes up behind you, and he just kind of nuzzles you, and he's just nothing but friendly to you. He just wants pets, and eventually you build a bond where you come outside, and sometimes he's there, and sometimes he's not, and he's sits up next to you on the porch, and while you're vaping, and he asks for a puff too, and you're just chilling with a bear. And then one day he comes in and he's been injured. His leg's broken.
Yeah.
And do you have the thought that you could, build him something that's like he's beyond, like he's going to die if he goes back out into the wild?
Okay.
You're saying you wouldn't build that bear a little hut to sleep in?
Okay.
Out
First
in your backyard?
This is a complete non-congruent.
It was more of like it was a funny image I had in my head, and I thought I'd just kind of pull it up to you.
And I absolutely would amputate that bear. I would keep him alive, okay? But the question is, more so, if
you don't have to enter him into the circus, I'm just saying keep him alive.
But we do force him to learn how to do cartwheels. Yeah. The question is more like having a cat. I love my cats. They benefit from my love. I benefit from theirs. But if I truly wanted to be like completely ethical in this line of morals, I feel like it has to be an open door policy. If I want to be the chicken farmer, I have to let these birds do what they want. I can't force them to keep making me eggs, to keep making offspring for my benefit.
Well, if the eggs aren't, if you can keep just hens and they'll make eggs. You don't need to breed chickens to get eggs.
I know nothing about these dumb birds, but I know inherently you're doing things against their will.
So they lay the eggs regardless. It's just
let's stick with cats because I don't know the logistics of a chicken.
Well, I can explain it to you.
I don't want to know. Okay, I want to know why your door isn't open right now so your cats can come and go at will.
Well,
that's the argument.
Jeremy would probably do okay. Peps would not.
And the ones that stay, I would argue that is like the ethical relationship. But to enslave a creature for your benefit is bad. It's what I do.
When I open the door, they don't try to get out. I will say that.
Okay, well, most people's animals do.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
if you left it open long enough,
parents.
If you left your door open long enough, I'm sure one of them would.
I do have a Ring camera video of one day I left my door cracked open, and Pebs went out, and she was like sitting. She just like walked out far enough to like sit on the porch, and then ran back in.
Don't you have them tagged too?
What was that?
Don't you have them tagged?
No.
No GPS?
No.
Yeah.
So so the microchips. So that's why I thought they have like the microchips when they put in when they get fixed or whatever. That's what that was. No, it doesn't do GPS. All it does is when they get scanned at the vet, they know like, oh, this cat has an owner.
Yeah.
But she kind of went out.
But you know my argument.
Go out, go back in. Yeah.
You know the argument. I think
right.
You agree
I definitely get what you're saying.
So it's degrees of harm to you then.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm not. I think it's fair too.
I think the idea of you know, a well-intentioned farmer who has farm animals, who keeps them in a way that like they are happy, they're protected, they have, you know, space to roam and do as they please there. They're not like strapped to machines and shit. You know, cows do need to be milked on I don't know if it's like a percentage of their, you know, lifetime or, you know, certain ages.
It's only when they're pregnant and we're taking their baby's milk. Remember?
I don't think that's true though.
Remember, I don't know if it's only when they're pregnant. I'm pretty sure they have to be inseminated. Then it is milk made for their babies that we're drinking.
Mm. Well, yeah,
like,
that's the idea of milk. Yeah,
equally, if not worse than meat.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, that's the reason. Like, I'm cutting cheese anyways, but it's like I don't drink milk products. I don't like ice cream, but like there's enough vegan ice creams out there that are really good nowadays. I'm not worried about that. Vegan cheese has a lot of catching up to do.
Like humans, cows only produce milk as a result of being pregnant. Dairy cows must give birth to one calf per year in order to continue producing milk. Typically, they are artificially inseminated within 3 months of giving birth. And that's why a lot of the vegan people, and I think it's fair, John makes this argument, like getting a cow pregnant by force over and over again, where their babies may die or are just used for like butcher meat, and you know, you're shoving fucking mechanical shit inside of them to inseminate them to steal the milk for their babies, and then killing them off after. It's pretty fucking brutal.
It is. It's absolutely brutal. It's like, but does it being brutal make it cooler? No, it does not.
Yeah, it does not. So here's where one of my first gotchas is. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see what you do when your foot's in the bear trap. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, it's about degrees of harm.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Which I think is like a good place to be, right? Because it's impossible to do no harm. Like driving to work, you kill creatures. Yeah. Like anywhere driving, there was that study or whatever of like driving your car at night, like the hundreds of insects of consciousnesses we end. So a more reasonable adjustment for it is degrees of harm. So with that means you're accepting that there's always going to be an amount of harm that you do by existing. Fair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if we're always going to be doing some harm, or do things that act against our ethics,
we should kill ourselves.
Based.
That's where you're going with this? No? Oh, sorry.
And it harms consciousnesses that we value. I think the question is, why try to ethically be good at all?
Oh, I mean, so this is another one we've absolutely covered because it feels good. And it's for us.
If you want to offload it,
we do good things because it feels good to do good things.
I accept that answer because I do think that's probably more honest than most people. But then you by that admission, you're basically saying you don't really give a fuck about the animals.
No, I do. It's
not that much, not as much as yourself.
Well, yeah.
It's probably honest.
I mean, if it was me or them, I'm not gonna, throw myself on a landmine to, save a bunch of cows.
Why do you think you're worth more than the sacred cow?
Because I'm me.
So purely
if they could make that decision, I would expect them to do the same.
That kind of I feel like you read my next questions. All right, my next question is, do you think the fish that you are willing to eat, do you think they would want us to be hungry? Or do you think they would want us to have full bellies?
They like...
What do you think the fish would want for your little tummy?
They would like us to be filled with anything other than fish.
Okay, so
they would like us to be full enough that we don't look at them as food.
Okay, realistically,
But yeah, like they don't care if we live or die. I
Okay.
mean, honestly, they would have no reason to, other than if we do die somewhere near a body of water, that they
Pollute
could
their
potentially
stream.
eat us.
Yeah. Okay, so that answers stating that the will of these animals you're choosing to value is that they don't care about our will, essentially,
Yeah,
or well-being.
I would
agree.
say for the most part. Like I think there are the cases where you have animals that you bond with that they may feel differently, sure, but you know they would prefer that you be there and also not trying to eat them than they would you not be there at all. But those are like outlier cases.
Okay. My next question is, would the fish, given the opportunity, eat us?
I mean, yeah.
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 Right. So that brings us to...
So why not
doesn't-
eat the fish?
Yes. The fish does not care about our hunger, our well-being, and given the opportunity, they would eat us.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this establishes intent. And I believe I see an argument here for self-defense. Temporal self-defense. Or at the very least, a case for survival, okay? So why would we let the ethics hinder our chances of survival or increase our suffering for a being that would do the exact same to us?
I'm just picturing a boomer with like the fishing vest and the little hat on out in, with the swamp shoes, and he's fly fishing and he just chop claiming self-defense.
He nibbled my toes, officer.
I'm sorry, what was your question? What was the point you're trying to get at?
Why would we make a sacrifice that both can hurt our chances of survival and add to our suffering for the different kind of consciousness of a creature that does not care about us and would harm us if they were able for their own benefit?
The idea of the suffering is a sliding scale. I get what you're saying of like you're depriving yourself of something that you could easily have. That is, yeah, it's definitely
definitionally it is.
It's much cheaper to be able to eat meat. Like you can go to a fucking Walmart or something, get a pound of deli meat for $5.
Convenience, financial taste, like all the dumb reasons that don't matter that much, and you clearly don't think are like a big sacrifice, but it is a form of
it absolutely is
imposed self-suffering.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitionally.
I'm trying. Yeah, it is. I'm not arguing with that at all. I know what I want to say. I'm thinking of how to phrase it.
Take your time. I've run through this a lot. I'm fucking around with it.
Yeah, no, this is fun. This is good because it's making me. It's not that I'm questioning myself. I'm just putting it into words.
If anything, kind of going into this, we figured it'll probably just like harden what you believe.
Yeah. It's not. I'm not questioning myself at all at this point. Mm-hmm. Also because I know that you come from the similar standpoint.
Yeah. I just don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's really the kind of what it boils down to, right? Is that like the thing of it is it being for me. I'm not doing it because I feel like if I stop eating meat, then it's going to fix the whole, meat supply situation. I'm going to fix the whole slaughterhouse situation, like whatever. Like I don't, that's not the reason I'm doing it. That's not what I expect of it. It's for me, it feels just good to know that I'm doing it. It's completely 100% more for me. I would say it's more for me the
it's
benefits,
more for your conscious.
Yeah. The benefits to me and my my day to day outweighs the suffering, the depriving myself, the hardship of it. Also, it's different for me a little bit too, because as a chef, there's also the drive of, if I can't find something that replaces the urge or the craving for, fried chicken or a hamburger or something, if I can't make that as a chef for myself, then I have no business calling myself a chef. Right? Like,
no, I think that's really cool. My question is, you're sitting at your desk and you see something scurry along, right?
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck is that? And you reach out and you grab it real quick. And it's a new mythical Pokemon. Okay. You've never fucking seen this animal before.
We're about to battle everybody.
Yeah, but dude, its fur is like fucking sour straws. Like its paws taste like little Starburst. It has a gooey inside that's like a milkshake. It's like the perfect little snack, right? But you're like, oh, I don't want to eat this because I don't want to harm it. And why? Like, what is stopping?
You're opening the next line of questioning, which is, yes. In the Pokemon universe, do people eat Pokemon?
They do.
And of course they do. And which ones?
All of them.
And
I just ate Zapdos last night.
The Zapdos would probably be a little gross. They have Tauros. They have the milk ones, the milk cow ones. They have the Oddish. It's just a salad. They have all these Pokemon. They're very edible. Oh yeah, for sure.
Pokemon menu.
Yeah. Making a note.
Want to eat a dragon type.
Oh, Gyarados sushi would be rad.
Yeah, ghost type could be for when you're on a diet.
It was actually somebody I follow said something about that. I only eat food that's been passed through a spectral Pokemon. I only eat with the food with my ectoplasmic residue.
So you find it a scary little creature. It looks delicious. It's tasty. You want to eat it. Why not?
I mean, it's the same reason why you don't, when you're cleaning out the couch and you find, a little piece of candy that fell between the couch cushions. Do you eat those?
Yes. Always. Candy's candy. Doesn't matter how long it's been around.
Like, that's why I put them there, to save them for later as a treat when I'm cleaning the couch.
Now I get I think you're coming out pretty consistent. I feel like the answer though, for most people when they're asked like, why do this then? When there's inconsistencies. Jesus, fucking talk. Stroked out, bro. I'm palping. I'm stroking. Like, there's inconsistencies with hypocrisy in not having the same level of care for kinds of conscious. There's the admission of it being for yourself, like for your, escape from the guilt of caused pain, which I think all of these, I think that's valid, right. But I feel like the answer when going to it is more like you said, like it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Than it is about actually helping an animal.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it would take so many people to do that, to make any difference. And like, I'm not telling anyone else to do it. I'm not expecting anyone else to do it. It's just, it makes me feel a little bit better.
So can we get this will bridge to our next topic too, but I feel like this brings us to the meaninglessness
Yeah.
I just don't see, like, I have the same values as you do on all of this, but I don't see why the prescription would be to inflict, even if it's a minor amount of suffering to myself, if it will never change anything and I don't truly care about the animal enough to harm myself. Or like, I don't see the, I don't feel the need to be ethical in this realm as much as I think it is a good thing. Like, I don't see, why do we have to be good if it's meaningless? If everything's meaningless? Like, where's the
I think you know,
motivation?
It's more about choosing your battles on what to be good or when to choose to be good. Like I said, I was just in the same boat as, like, I've had these thoughts and these feelings, but I wasn't acting on them before. But it was just a thing that kind of hit me, and it crossed my mind that, like, not only could I do this, but I think I want to do this. And
I think it's cool.
I mean, that's really, like, the entirety of it. It wasn't like it wasn't even a consideration of, like, you know, guilt or anything like that. It was just like, you know, I think I can pull the trigger on that. And I mean, that was mostly it.
I just struggle with it in the sense of, like, I think it's good too, but I also think, like, donating my money to charity is good, and I'm never going to do it. Like, right. I don't.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to, you know, really tell you, because I really don't know what it is in particular that, like, I wouldn't even begin to know how to, like, sell you on the idea, because I know how, you know, you feel about it already.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, like I said, I was just there too. And, like, if someone else, I mean, other people have, you know, in the past tried to, you know, sell me on it. And I was with those same beliefs still, was just like, no, I don't want to do that. It was more of a thing of, like, it's like, you know, like picking up a hobby.
Here's where, like, I've been joking about being in a post-depression era. So, like, I'm listening to you, and, like, genuinely, and I'm, like, staring off into space, and there's a shadow ahead of me, okay, from this door frame, and I'm, like, shadow gazing right now, okay?
Okay. I'm glad I have your undivided attention. Continue.
Fucking shadow gazing, bro. I'm a dolphin. I'm a chicken. I'm a bear in a sunset. Okay. I want
dolphin, half chicken, half bear,
half alligator. Dude, fucking Dr. Octagon. I'm like, I have the imagination, right? Like, I can close my eyes and experience an idea of what other kinds of consciousness, what other people feel like. Like, I have a lot of empathy, but I have very little motivation. I don't understand. I want all the animals happy, dancing under rainbows. I want all people to have as much food as possible, right, or whatever. Like, I want good for things. I want there to be good, right? But yes. I don't. I feel like but I don't understand how other people advocate for, like, good things when I think the reality of our collective situation is that it truly does not matter. Like, this podcast does not matter. This stupid shadow is going to change. It'll be gone tomorrow. Not like it's all like self-pleasure or just things that happen. Like me eating the animal is like a bad thing. Like I think it is. Like when I do it, I can acknowledge that, and I can like feel empathy or like sadness even for the animal or appreciation. And then 5 minutes later, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah.
So I can like ride with all the logic of like a different view of a more empathetic outlook, but I can never understand the prescriptions, and I feel like people can't justify them. Like you can't make someone care. Like I don't.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's, you know, it's caring about something it's a personal thing. You have to
I feel like
come to that. Caring about it enough to do something about it.
But I feel like most people can't justify it to themselves even. It's like frustrating because I'm like, yo, why? Like, I can understand all the reasons, but there still isn't a good enough reason why to do it.
That's fair. There is a slippery slope of like saying that, like, I mean, that's kind of where religion ends up falling into, right? Of like something that someone is choosing to spend their life, you know, either devoted to, or, you know, even if they don't practice it, they feel guilt for it. Mm-hmm. You know, things like that. And it's like, but why? Why would you do that? And there's not really a good answer other than
it's compulsion.
Yeah.
So
it's something they feel that they want in their life, or they feel like they want or they need.
So
for whatever reason.
When you said it's a slippery slope, I totally get what you mean by that, because then it's like, why shouldn't we, or why should we not kill people if we wanted to? Or why should we not do XYZ harm because we have a compulsion or it would feel good? And for me, I feel like my arguments are very consistent because my reasons are strictly selfish. I don't want to lose my freedom. I don't want to deprive myself of future happiness and guarantee myself suffering because I wanted something, even if I don't think that thing is bad. Like
you followed an impulsive thought, and because you did, you lose the ability to make that choice in the future.
Yeah. And it's not because I thought that choice is like, I don't think shooting fucking heroin into my neck, or like, I really don't think killing people is bad. Okay. Like
killing people ain't such a big deal.
Was the reason valid? Was like, if we can justify, anyone who could justify eating animals, if they're like, well, fucking murder is bad, then you're a dumb piece of shit. Yeah. Like, you clearly haven't thought through any of this, because it's about like the reasons.
Right.
Like, is it valid? And I get the slippery slope, but kind of how your answers, like when we boil it all down, I just truly feel like it is, if everyone could answer, I feel like as honesty as you were, it all is about self. It's all about selfish desires. And I don't think selfish desires are bad. It's all about what makes us feel good, what benefits us the most, what gives us the most pleasure, and takes away the most suffering. And no one truly, like at their most core, can truly care enough to justify not hurting or consuming or whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, there's... I think part of it also, or at least something that I've thought of since we started, is you have people that, you know, want to go vegan for different reasons. Like Ray said, like there's the health thing, there's the, you know, the ethics part of it. There's definitely people that are kind of peer pressured into it for, the people around them and whatever.
Yeah.
And you see that it's in a similar way of religion. You see that in people that are, they'll have a couple drinks and then they'll cave and get a shawarma, and like, then they guilt themselves into it, right? Because of it. And while I don't agree with that, of like, if you're having a craving for something and it's something that's available to you, I guess, if it's so much of a thing that it sucks, but it's like, you can make that choice. You have the abilities to make that choice. You have the power.
But it is shitty though, because they're not sticking to their principles. Not because I don't think it's bad, but it's like, choose what you believe in. And if you want to change what you believe in, cool, but don't be like morally flexible out of convenience.
Yeah. Yeah. That being said, the Mediterranean place I took you to when you came up here.
Good.
They're so good. They just, so I guess they have somebody in their family that also does a pizza place, and they just started doing shawarma pizza.
I don't like the sound of that. It probably tastes good though.
Some beef shawarma on a pizza.
And of course,
tastes good. And of course they started doing it right out. I'm sure it's incredible. They don't make bad food. But now it's like, fuck.
That's funny. So I was getting to meaninglessness, right? Mm-hmm. Pure. I think more and more. I think I'm more nihilistic than most people I've met, and it makes it hard to like understand why they have like compulsions to resist that. But recently, we'll kind of switch gears a bit. We've had 2 self-immolations. Guys,
Jesus.
It's been very exciting.
Yeah.
These are fun times, Pretty wild stuff. I've always loved the concept of people setting themselves on fire. I think it's fucking
new
so
TikTok
cool.
trend, man.
Well,
everybody's doing it.
I know that last guy wasn't just like a Trump thing. He was more like a actually mentally ill person. It probably is kind of sad. But he was a conspiracy guy. But maybe, fingers crossed, if we're lucky, a bunch of MAGA people will pick up the trend. Because how cool would that be?
Fucking crazy.
At every Trump court date, MAGA hogs are just fucking barbecuing themselves. It's so fucking dope, dude.
He's wondering why no one's showing up to his trials to support him, as they're all burning themselves in the parking lot.
He's so sick, man. Oh, so the question I was going to get to is, like we had the U.S. soldier yelling "Free Palestine," burning himself at the Israeli embassy, and we're having people kill themselves in a way that was reserved for basically like political prisoners or people that were at their absolute last resort of this is the only way I can show resistance in a nonviolent way, nonviolent to others at least. And this was like their last way to get attention to their cause or whatever. And I truly think this could be a thing we see more of in the next year. And just kind of wanted to get to like the idea of like when I saw both of these, as in a way I find it funny, it is just like straight up sad. And I feel like people are making themselves into meaningless martyrs, like for causes that don't care about them back, and that if they would have lived or just not have done what they did, they'd have a way better chance of inflicting change than they do by just fucking setting themselves on fire. But I think it's a really interesting problem and just kind of a weird question of like, is there value in killing yourself for a cause that you can't change?
So I've been pondering on that question, And I think there's an argument to be made in, I mean, probably 99.9% of the people we consider martyrs of, like, is it martyrdom? Is it martyrdom? And this is a legitimate question here. Is it martyrdom to just die for something you believe in?
I think,
or does it have to affect some type of change? Does it have to hold some type of meaning?
I think, like, strictly by definition, it's being killed for your beliefs. Like, I don't know if a suicide for a cause actually is a strictly definitionally a form of martyrdom, but I think colloquially, my favorite word today, the idea of killing yourself for something bigger than yourself, I think we can is a form of martyrdom.
It's
self-martyrdom. Yeah.
I mean, I would argue, especially in the case of you doing it yourself, but also in the case of something that you're choosing to die for. Whereas, like, if you were to, pull back on that, you could survive. If it's not about, like, you may think it is, that's the hard part. It's like, even if you feel that it's about causing a change in the hearts of the people, the spectating around you, it's still a thing that you're doing for yourself. Right?
I think the mindset needed to do it, like, requires a level of delusion that it also matters.
Right.
I don't know how many...
I agree with that. You have to be in the mindset of believing that you're not just doing this for you.
That's for something bigger than yourself, and you might be able to change the hearts and minds of people.
But at the end of the day, knowing, like, being able to see it happen and recognizing from an outside perspective that this does not affect the change. It does not work to affect the change that you hope it does. Maybe, if you get the wide enough audience, and depending on the cause, you might reach some people, but arguably those people were going to be willing to side with you anyhow.
I feel like you just sparked what I think is an interesting thought. It might just be gibberish, but in a way, you never truly know the effect it's going to have until you do it.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. I guess yeah.
Like, it's in my head, thinking about this previously, it's like, this is so stupid. Like, this soldier or this conspiracy theorist, like, these guys it's sad and it's dumb because they clearly could have had a better chance of affecting their goals if they were to continue working towards it, opposed to just going out in a dumb blaze of glory, sitting in an ICU, fucking dying for a couple days and then dropping dead. Like, that fucking sucks. Like, but I guess there is the argument of you truly don't know the effect it could have until after you've lit the match.
That's a fair argument, but I feel like that's only stands to make it more of a case of, like, you have to be delusioned of some type to believe.
Hopeful, idealistic.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
It's a kind of a weirdly hopeful way to harm yourself.
I mean, it is,
because if you're
sad.
pessimistic,
it is. I mean, it is without a doubt the strongest thing that you could do, just on a solo action. If you're like, I'm going to, in the shortest amount of time, I'm going to try to make a gigantic impact without hurting anyone besides myself.
I always get frustrated with both just, social media coverage and just political coverage on both sides of whatever the issue the person died for, where they're either made into this hero, this champion for the people, or they're just called a sick, depraved, mentally ill, clearly insane person. And I feel like sometimes there's enough information it can kind of give you, a point in the direction. I definitely have like feelings about both of these recent cases, but you never really fucking know. Like, I can imagine ways in which to, commit this weirdly delusional, hopeful form of suicide, knowing it won't affect the change I want, but it feels like the only chance I've got, and maybe it'll do. I can imagine a way in which that is a good thing.
There's hope, but there's a desperation that I think
very
needs
desperate.
To be there too.
That's why I was reserved for the fucking monks and
having
prisoners and shit.
Having hope can't be all it takes, right? Because you can have hope and still continue and still like try to affect a change in your day to day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's that desperation of like, this is the only chance that I have.
Like when I think of the U.S. soldier dude, like he could have done so much more if he just was like stayed in uniform and like very publicly argued for Palestine than he ever would just setting himself on fire.
Yeah.
Don't you think like over?
Yeah.
But I guess the counter is like, well, you fucking never know. Like that video, maybe a couple things went differently. Maybe that video was something that could have affected a large amount of people across the world. Like I'm not arguing like that I agree or disagree with what he did, but the argument of like, there is a realm in which, despite its desperation, he could have been pretty hopeful. Maybe it could have affected something bigger than it did.
I feel like there is something to say about the fact that it's not a super common thing, but it's something that does happen on a, it's a wide enough circumstance that we have a term for it. Self-immolation is a term because it's enough people have done it that it deems its own title.
It's an inspiring thing to see,
right? Like, but what I'm getting to is that we have enough historical precedents to know that, like, the news catches it, or people catch wind of it, and they're like, "Oh, that's really powerful." But like, does it actually change the way? Does it really affect the way that people think about the thing that you died for?
I feel like it's very rarely. Like I mean, I think historically, like the monk, that probably affected more minds than any other example of it from history, and I would still estimate it was a pretty small effect.
Right, and I mean, we spend more time here talking about their,
mental state.
Yeah, exactly. Their mental state, their, where they were at, like what brought them to this conclusion rather than the purpose for which they did it.
The thing about it I kind of appreciate though is like the consistency of like, I appreciate people that like truly believe what they believe.
They're willing to die for it, and they're here to prove it.
Yeah. I genuinely appreciate that. Like in a way, it's like increasingly sad the less autonomy, like depending on level of potential illness involved, like the less like clear-headed they are, it's almost the sadder, where it's like,
Yeah, I mean, it becomes a thing of like, how much of this could have been changed by, a different set of circumstances in the, following few weeks of their life, that like they weren't falling down this spiral of a path of thinking like this is the only option,
Yeah.
If on the way into New York that day, that guy had the greatest,
He found one of those mice that I was talking about that tasted really
Yeah,
good.
exactly. And he had one of those and he realized, oh, there's more to life than this.
Yeah, he's like, that's why I should never have became a pescatarian.
Yeah.
Because then I wouldn't have had to self-immolate.
And his name was Ricky.
I don't know, but there is like, think of how many people say they care that much about a thing and will never do anything about it for the rest of their lives.
Oh, for sure. Like we all speak in hyperbole,
Not me.
Never Steven, you're right. I'm sorry.
I speak facts, bro. No cap. For real, bro.
God damn.
100. Fucking dead ass.
But we all speak that way, but it's with knowing that there is hyperbole there. The idea of doing that, like I said, it's really, like I said, it's saying that I'm willing to die for this, and here's the receipt. To take that step further, like to prove it.
I feel like it demands a level of respect.
For sure. It does. It's like, wow, that's wild as fuck. But, they obviously had a conviction in their head of like, this is how this is going to play out, and this is how I'm going to end.
There's something about when people are really confident about a belief, even if the belief is wrong, I think it's an inherently attractive quality.
I don't know about inherently.
Maybe that's the wrong word, but generally, I can work with that. Like, even if I'm comparing to fucking Islamic, I don't know, teachers, or to Catholic priests, like the one that speaks with the most conviction, I'm going to be more drawn to, even though I hate them all. Right? Like, there's something about just like confidence in a belief that I think draws like curiosity or some level of appreciation that they truly believe what they say they believe.
But then it still leads to you and me sitting here going, wondering about their mental state.
But that's why I almost interrupted a few times, because I almost feel like there's I feel like it's almost a bad assumption to think there's anything wrong with their mental state, even though it is like most likely. I feel like there are types or kinds of consciousness I can put myself in where their belief makes sense and their conviction is strong enough to actually act on it. And I see that as like more likely to be unlikely, but still very possible.
Mm-hmm.
Where you could have truly nothing, no true mental illness or like defect, and you just actually do believe something and are willing to put your money where your mouth is.
I think the idea of questioning, I mean, it doesn't have to be mental illness per se, but questioning their mental state is if it doesn't take much simple steps of logic and reasoning to pick apart the thing that they believe in.
If we had the chance to inquisit them. But then the question is, shouldn't we be willing to die for something we believe that strongly?
Yeah, for sure. You can die for whatever you want to.
Well, we can. It doesn't. Should.
You're saying should we die for whatever?
Shouldn't we die for something we believe that strongly? If you truly believe your government was massacring people, that and you disagreed with it, and you felt the importance of making that known was worth the cost of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Then shouldn't, like, if you truly believed...
I mean, in, a situation like that, you can absolutely paint the portrait of a scenario where it would be irresponsible not to.
And I think that's what I'm trying to get at, is that
it's socially irresponsible not to.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people aren't willing to, I don't know, like show a little, I don't know, like a little respect for what the person's death attempted to be.
Right, yeah. It's a...
like the Pizzagate guy.
Yeah.
Like, that dude's a piece of shit. Like, I hate him, right? He's a dumb idiot. But
we put some respect on his name.
Absolutely. Like, think of all these other fucking losers online that are like, oh, the Democrats are eating babies, adrenochrome, they're touching kids. This motherfucker, out of nowhere, drives across the country and invades a pizza shop because he wants to save kids so badly, okay?
Right.
He's delusional. He's an idiot. He's so fucking stupid, and I hate him. But I appreciate his level of conviction way more than the millions of people online bitching and moaning that just are never going to ever do anything.
Right, yeah.
Like, there's something attractive about the conviction that often delusional people have. But
it's like, oh shit, people are being hurt. Let's do something about it. Instead of just bitching.
There's something
about
admirable.
Yeah.
I'd like to be more of a man of action, like more of a hard man.
Oh yeah.
With conviction. I'm not convinced. I'm not convicted.
I think there's I think I know of somebody you can listen to for some tips.
Bro, I want to do a hard man episode every week. I fucking love it, dude. I just find it so interesting. And I just love being angry at some, like justifiably angry. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah, it is vindicating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could get convicted about that guy. You know what I mean?
I don't think I would ever self-immolate over that, but
yeah, speak for yourself.
Steven says with a bottle of he's got a bottle of kerosene on his desk and he's waiting for the that's the problem, you quit smoking real cigarettes and you're just waiting for the spark in the vape to light up the fumes.
Oh man, what's your night, your week looking like? I think I'm done.
I have a bunch of fucking more work shit. I definitely got to be playing with some schedule shit tonight, and then more work bullshit. But
I'm like, it's way too late to go deep into this now. But I'm very much on like truly like fuck everything mode. Like, I'm just, oh my God, I just don't like the nature of existing. I don't know what the fuck is wrong. The world's so stupid.
It really is, though.
It's just like,
we didn't ask to be here, and yet
absolutely not.
And yet, for some reason, we feel compelled to still be here, and like that's hard to explain.
And buttering bread is so fucking annoying. It's cutting the grass. You gotta
leave the bread on the counter.
Abusive managers. It's just everything.
You gotta leave the manager on the counter.
It's all the small things, It's just also...
I can tell you how to fix the abusive manager problem.
I'm concerned. I said something to him last week that was pretty smart. I
finally said something smart to this guy.
It was pretty clever. But my regular manager is the only person I've talked to in like 2.5, 3 years, and she's on pregnancy leave. So
you're dealing with this fucking part-timer chump.
This random person. And honestly, the company's like our part of the company is like in a free fall without her. It's a shit show. So just kind of biding time, but I don't know. I'm not like upset about it. Like things are going fine. I just some days more than other. It's like, yo, fuck everything. Like most people are like, oh, fuck those things and some of those things. But some days it's like, yo, fuck every single thing. Like fuck this place.
That's some real Limp Bizkit shit.
Dude, I feel that energy, man. And highly recommend listening to that Lacrimosa 500% when you're feeling that.
I absolutely will. I might put it on while I wrap up for the evening here.
It'll make you want to eat little desk mice, you know?
little Sour Punch straw Pokemon.
We need little sugar gerbils.
Delicious.
Absolutely. All right, I'm done.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human.
Make
sure to check out the show page at TrashCatsTrashcast on Instagram for news and art from the show. Check out Facebook for the memes.
If you're super bored, you can check out my trashy art on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYZACX. We got YouTube if you're a fucking psychopath, okay? Then that's
don't listen to the old episodes that we're uploading. Just like them, comment on them, get the algorithm up.
It hurts too much.
It's bad. It's bad. It's a bad podcast.
It is. We got some fun stuff coming up, and appreciate you guys sticking around. Hope you guys have a good rest of the night. Appreciate you guys.
That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Go fast, eat trash.
Delicious.
Well, it started first. I was giving Oscar the Grouch a blowjob. I thought to myself, this guy, pretty tasty.